The first way to increase your credit score is to take out your credit card, flip it over, and call the number on the back of your card. And then all you have to do is, brace yourself for this one, ask for a credit limit increase. Mind-blowing, I know, but we've got a ton of other ways that you can significantly increase your credit limit by tens of thousands of dollars, including one strategy that I used to go from having just $500 in available credit to over $50,000 in available credit at the age of 22. All right, let's jump right into it. What is going on, everyone? I hope you are all having a fantastic day. So, like I just said, the easiest way to increase your credit limit is literally just by calling the number on the back of your card and asking for a credit limit increase. They're probably going to ask you if you've had any substantial changes to your income, and I do want to let you know that in some cases, requesting a credit limit increase can trigger what's called a hard inquiry, and therefore may have a short-term impact on your credit score. Now, personally, I've never experienced this. However, I do know that it is a possibility, so just something that I did want to make you aware of. We've got 4 other ways to increase your credit limit by tens of thousands of dollars in some cases, and then we're going to talk about why you would want to do this and how it can actually save you tens of thousands of dollars as well, but we'll get to that later in the video. So, similar to the first strategy, the second way to get a huge credit limit increase is actually by requesting an increase online. Obviously, every site is going to look a little bit different, but the example that I always love to give is the Discover It credit card, which, as many of you know, was my very first credit card. And when I got that, I had a credit limit of just a few $100s because I had no credit history at the time. But now, after having that card for several years, my credit limit just on this card alone has gone all the way up to $6,500. And with Discover specifically, all you have to do is log into your accounts, select Card Services at the top of the screen, and then select Credit Line Increase. Then they are just going to ask you to update your payment information, and in my experience, they will instantly either approve or deny you for a credit limit increase. Now, even if you have had a substantial change in your income, they are going to take some other variables into account, including how much of your current available credit are you actually using, are you a regular user of this product, and some other variables as well. And the reason for that is, say they currently give you a $5,000 line of credit, but you're only spending maybe $50 a month. Well, then you don't really need a credit limit increase because you're not even using the credit that you currently have, and therefore they are probably going to deny you for that credit limit increase request. But again, it really depends on your situation and your numbers, so it doesn't really hurt to go ahead and apply, ask for a credit limit increase and see what happens. But again, I would still recommend calling the number on the back of your card first, because I personally have definitely had better success with talking to a real person rather than just letting my fate be in the hands of a computer and an algorithm. Moving on from there, the third strategy that is probably the fastest way to significantly increase your credit score is by applying for a new credit card. This one might leave some of you scratching your head, but this is by far my favorite strategy, which probably doesn't come as a surprise considering I have a ridiculous amount of credit cards. But remember that in terms of calculating your credit score and your total available credit, this is calculated by adding up all of the lines of credit that you have, meaning every single credit card. So if you currently have only one credit card that has, say, a $1,000 limit, then your total available credit is just $1,000. But if you go ahead and apply for a new credit card and they offer you a $2,000 credit limit, well, that means that now your total available credit would be $3,000, meaning you just tripled your total available credit. And if you are strategically climbing the credit card ladder, you probably picked up a new card that is going to give you cash back and rewards in a new spending category. Add on top of that the fact that increasing your total available credit is really good for your credit score, and applying for a new credit card kind of seems like a no-brainer if it is a good time, which again we'll talk more about in a second. But in case you don't make it to the end of this video, what I will say is please don't take this advice as
Brendan told me to go and apply for 10 credit cards at once.
Because trust me, that is not a good idea for a number of reasons. Coming in at number 4 is definitely the most boring strategy, but does work and is largely how I was able to increase my Discover It credit card limit, and that is by just waiting for an automatic increase. You may have experienced this with your own credit cards, but a lot of times as you show the credit card company that you are a reputable borrower and you always pay your statements off on time every time without fail and are using a good amount of your current available credits, then it's very possible that they will automatically increase your credit limit without you having to do anything. In my case, I think I requested a credit limit with the Discover It card maybe once or twice over the 5 years that I've had this product, but every other increase happened automatically without me ever having to do anything or even really knowing about it. I no longer use my Discover It card just because I have some more premium products now that give me better benefits, meaning that those automatic increases don't really happen anymore because not using the available credit that Discover is already giving me means that they are less likely to give me more available credit in the future. But again, you might just wake up one day and be surprised to learn that they doubled or tripled your credit card limit in some cases. So definitely keep an eye out for that. All right, before we get into the insane advantages and the reasons why you would want to increase your credit limit, the fifth strategy that is more of a bonus since it falls into a gray area would actually be getting what's called a charge card. A charge card basically works in the exact same way as a regular credit card. The only difference is that it has to be paid off when your statement is issued, which is usually once a month. But the benefit of this is that charge cards usually have no limits, or if they do have a limit, it is kind of ridiculously high or somewhat unspoken. American Express is probably the best known company that issues charge cards like the American Express Gold and Platinum cards, and while these aren't necessarily unlimited, since they do have a spending power tool, I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on my personal American Express Gold card in one statement cycle, and I have never had any issues with meeting any kind of unspoken limits or anything like that. Plus, in the case of American Express, you can go into the app and click on Check Spending Power and type in the amount that you plan on spending if it is some crazy number, and it will tell you whether or not that transaction will be approved before you even make that purchase. So something like a charge card is not necessarily going to give you the benefits that we're going to talk about next, but if your purpose for wanting a credit limit increase is solely to have more credit available to you, then getting a charge card is probably the fastest way to drastically increase your credit limit. The furthest I have personally pushed my American Express Gold card was about $20,000 in one statement cycle, so while I probably could go higher than that, we're going to call that the limit for the purpose of today's video. And add on top of that the credit limits from all of my other credit cards, and that means that at the age of 22 years old, I currently have over $50,000 of available credit to me. Alright, so those are the 5 easiest and in some cases fastest ways to drastically increase your credit limits, and a lot of those you can literally do right now and more than likely get a credit limit increase by the end of the day of several $1,000s in some cases. But why in the world would anyone want to go through this process, and how can it actually save you thousands of dollars, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video? Well, a lot of you probably already see where I'm going with this, but it really boils down to your credit score. One of the largest factors that makes up your credit score is called your credit utilization, which is basically a percentage of how much of your total available credit you have used. So if you have a $1,000 credit limit and you spend $100, then that means that your utilization would be 10%. But if you spent all $1,000, that means that your utilization would be 100%, and the higher your utilization, the worse that is for your credit score. So-called experts will recommend that you want to keep your utilization below 30%, but I would actually say that you want to keep it below 10%, and if possible, you should pay off your credit card before your statement even arrives so that your utilization actually remains at 0%. Enough about all of that. The point I'm trying to make here is by requesting a credit limit increase or applying for a new credit card, you are increasing your total available credit, and assuming your spending stays pretty much the same, that is going to decrease your credit utilization and therefore be good for your credit score. So going back to our example from earlier, if your total available credit went from $1,000 to $10,000, which is a pretty extreme example, then spending that same $100 goes from being 10% utilization all the way down to just 1% utilization. And if you spent $1,000, well, before that was a 100% utilization, which is really bad, but now spending that $1,000 is only 10% utilization, which again is pretty good. Plus, increasing your credit limit is increasing your total available credit that you have, and like I mentioned earlier, that is going to be good for your credit score. And if you add a new credit card, you are increasing the total lines of credit, which, you guessed it, is good for your credit score. And as many of you know, a higher credit score almost always means a lower interest rate when it comes time to borrow money for a car or a house or really anything else for that matter. And when you're talking about borrowing hundreds of thousands of dollars over a long period of time with something like a mortgage, a percentage rate change from even 5% to 3% can and will save you thousands of dollars in the long term. So do yourself a favor, take out your credit card, flip it over, and call the number on the back of that card, because that could be a phone call that saves you tens of thousands of dollars in the long term. Be sure to check out some of my favorite financial tools down in the description below, including one offer from the Point Cashback debit card that'll currently give you $100 when you open your account and make your first purchase. And of course, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this in the future, and share this video with someone who you think will get value out of this content as well. As always, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it so much. Take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.